I'm just so blown over with the arrangement that we have here. I'm just sitting here listening to you. You're channeling Lady Sarah and thinking, what an incredible experience that we're able to have here, and hopefully that other people will enjoy as well. It's just amazing.
All right, and if I lose track of something, because she's just saying stuff and I you know, I'm a bit off the planet, so just guide me back if I do. Right, let me just go back into it now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Lady Sarah, you have your own angels that, from what I understand, they're like your team. They work alongside you and you give them jobs to do. I don't know very much about them, you know, how many there are. Are you able to enlighten us about your team of angels? Can you tell us what qualities they have? And if people want to work with them, which I'm hoping that they will, can you give us some guidance on how people can get to know your angels like we're getting to know you as well, please?
So the first thing I want to say is they come in the shape of a horseshoe. And they are beautiful, beautiful shining light. There's an incredibly purity of whiteness that is beyond white as we know it. And this energy is the pure force, if you like, of the cosmic Christ energy. So I hold an archetypal energy of the divine masculine and the divine feminine brought together in the sacred marriage, which then creates a third entirely other and different energy from the first and the second. And this is at the same time newer in the human evolutionary system, but it's actually a more ancient energy, because it was what comes from before. It was present in Lemuria, and the Lemurians lived in this consciousness of this light that the angels hold. So although I can say that my consciousness in the lifetimes that I had on earth was able to sit in this energy of the cosmic Christ light, it is actually the angels that hold that pure force and not me. So they are the team around me, but because of my spiritual development, I am able to resonate with this energy, and I have worked with it and made it part of my own soul energy. But it is the angels that hold that force. And so when things need to be done, I call upon the angelic realms to make it so. So they are a collective force, although the idea of a horseshoe shape is one where one can imagine 6 or 7 angels around oneself, and then perhaps sitting in the center of that horseshoe. In actuality, this host of angels is an uncountable number. So they are a awesome and powerful force, but when I need to work with it, or when other people want to call on these angels, you're just calling on the part of that force that you need. You don't have to worry about being crushed by the presence of thousands of angels suddenly turning up. But just to say that is how they are, yeah, constructed or made up. It is of a huge, yeah, legion of angelic beings together.
Thank you. That was very interesting. Following on, we now know about your angels. Who else is part of your spiritual team, Lady Sarah?
So I tend to work with other masters and beings of light that are working with the same outline that I am. I do have a strong connection to working with the earth, but I also have a connection to the star councils. The energy that I hold, it is a cosmic energy, and it's not related to any religion or belief system, and there are other names for it in other systems. Paramatman is one that is jumping out, and yes, I suppose that this is the point where I want to speak about that. I don't particularly feel that I belong in any religious hierarchy, whether it's Christian or otherwise. In my past lives, I have been present in many different cultures, and of course, in my life as Sarah, I was part of the Jewish system, and so I've actually never had any lives as a Christian on the earth, which is not to say that I have anything against it. In my way of seeing things, all religions have their own special quality, and they are all equal. They're all equally important to the people who are in those religions. And I don't affiliate myself to one or the other in any particular way. If I were to affiliate myself to something, it would be to the powers of nature, these raw, primal forces. But in truth, I am connected to all of the spheres because I hold the energy of integration. I am able to connect to anything on any level at any time from whatever point I'm in, which is unusual for an ascended master, as most ascended masters are in their particular sphere of specialization, which has a specific vibration. But with me, I can connect to anything, which means that I can also work with anybody in the higher dimensions. So I do have a team that I work with on the earth, and this is something I'll be talking more about in the months to come. And I also am part of a council of star elders, working more cosmically. But again, and this is quite unusual because I have this fluidity and ability to integrate. I'm not limited to who I can work with, and I can be pulled in to any other system of energy and will be able to integrate well with it. There's no clashes. It will always work.
Thank you. Can I just ask, what is the Council of Star Elders? What's the council? What's the purpose of the council? And what kind of work does it entail, please?
We're looking at the level of energy for this solar system. The Council of Star Elders, one of the things that they are looking about or working with is the energy flow in the whole of this solar system. All of the planets, all of the manifest creations in this solar system are interconnected, and they all hold different aspects of each other in the way that the energies are flowing through and around. They all give something to each other. If you think of it as like the solar system being a family is made up of different personalities, and each one contributes something to the whole. And so there's a necessity of looking at how these immense beings are working together, what problems they're having, what challenges they're having, if they need a bit more help, if some of the flows need working with. So, for example, the Earth herself is sending out Earth energies out into the solar system. She is contributing sacred energies to other planets. She's also receiving solar sacred energies from other planets, because each one has its own specialization and vibration. So there's a much bigger kind of picture out there than the one that we see if we're on one of the having a physical incarnation on Earth. But Earth herself is an ascended being. She's taken on the job of humanity, and is a little bit held back because her physical body is, humanity is made up of the Earth's physical body. So energetically, she's like, you know, like a pregnant mother. When you're pregnant, you have to take things a bit easy, you have to slow down, you can't suddenly go to work, go dancing, you know, you can't light the candle at both ends. And it's the same with the Earth. She's had to slow down her evolutionary progress a little bit. However, just the same as having a child is incredibly rewarding and powerful process where you develop incredibly. So the Earth is also getting a lot out of having humanity. It might not look like it if you're a person with all of the difficulties in this day and age, but it you know, taken over like aeons of time, it is an incredibly powerful and rewarding process for the Earth.
Wow, that was very, very interesting. Thank you. I'd like to move on, if I may, and discuss the concept of the Holy Grail. Lady Sarah, would you say that you are the Holy Grail, or are you an aspect of the Holy Grail, or something other? Please. I was trying to think of the most appropriate way to phrase the question for you, and I hope that was okay.
The Holy Grail is an image of something that exists as an etheric creation. So if I were to give an example of the sun, for example, the sun has been understood in different cultures and different times in different ways, and has been given different names, and has been given different genders, and has been understood very, very differently. With the Holy Grail, this is something that exists in other cultures, but will have a a different name, and so will give a slightly different energy. So let me just take a moment and just focus down on how I can describe this a little further. So the Holy Grail is an image of a cup or a bowl, which is a receptacle. And often we see the cup or the bowl as being a divine feminine image, and yet there's something about the Holy Grail that holds an energy of the divine masculine as well. And that possibly is because of the active, dynamic, active components. The Holy Grail is not something that just sits there holding a divine energy or a divine liquid, but it also has an active effect. It's doing things. It has a power and a presence. So this is a story that came into creation with the Jesus stories or myths, as I would like to say, because of course, even if we take the view that Jesus was an actual physical person having an actual real life, still much of the stuff around this person is stories and myths. However, stories and myths have their own value. They reflect what is in the collective unconsciousness. And yes, the collective unconsciousness can hold the shadow, but it also holds the divine knowing that people have. Because of course, each person has a piece of the divine in them. They are created from the divine. They hold a divine spark within them. Even if it's unconscious, that is still there. And so that part of each person gives out stories, gives out impressions, it does things. The Holy Grail came along with the stories of Jesus and grew out, and has also been connected to King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. And there is a mystery and a presence to these stories that the divine spark in each of us responds to, because it recognizes that there is a divine truth there, and there is a longing to go towards that Holy Grail. So I have a symbol which was channeled for me some years ago, and this symbol, when it's worked with, very much becomes the Holy Grail. And one of the ways to presence that symbol is to imagine that you are being brought down into the center of that Holy Grail. And this has been called coming into Sarah's embrace. Once you're in that cup or that bowl energetically, an alchemical process occurs. Things are worked within you. Things are brought together that have been separated, which causes things that are not of reality, that are illusionary, to suddenly poof and disappear. This is one of my archetypal forces that I hold, is this energy of integration. And of course, this is directly linked to this energy of the cosmic Christ, which can also be linked to this divine spark that exists within each thing that is alive and which you see around you on the earth. And this can also be linked to the Hindu, an ancient Hindu system, where everything in creation is brought into being by Narayana and Narayani. The divine spark and the Holy Grail itself, I would say that the divine spark is the Narayana and the Holy Grail is the Narayani. And this is a longer mystery than I can explain here, but to make a shorter synopsis of it, the Holy Grail is these energies that are present in manifest creation and are what represents that divine spark, but which actually exists, that divine spark, outside of manifest creation. It exists in transcendent reality. I think I'll leave that there.
Thank you. Thank you. Finally, Lady Sarah, are there any questions that we haven't previously discussed that you feel it would be appropriate to provide us with answers to, please?
Just have a bit more water. Gone into a bit of a transcendent space then.
I can see why.
So, anything else? Just anything else?
Just leave open. There could be something really important that maybe hasn't been covered, and Lady Sarah can tell us. It's her platform.
Well, firstly, I would like to say that these are exciting times that you are living in now. And I appreciate that it can be a little difficult to appreciate that. However, I would just ask you to just step for a moment outside of yourself and take a step back and realize just how much amazingly magical, divine potential there is in this current moment in the evolution of humanity. At this point on the web of time, there is just the most amazing amount of spiritual help coming in and possibility for transformation. So I know for some of you that are listening to this, your burdens are heavy and the path is difficult right now. However, I would say to you, look for your tools, remember the training. All of you who are listening to this has learned many, many things as they come into their, as you have each come into your spirituality. Do not think for a second that you are powerless or that you can do nothing to change your circumstances or to change your consciousness particularly. You are at the point of learning self-mastery. You are at the point of coming into co-creation with the divine in a way where you are creating powerful creation's full of light and full of love. The world around you is changing. The earth grid is much, much different than 20, 30 years ago. And this is because of the work of humanity. So don't think that it's all bad. Don't think that it's hopeless and there's no future when you are hearing about the climate change and the way that the politicians are behaving. Yes, all of those things are there, and they will even more powerfully bring out your gifts and even more powerfully bring out what is needed in opposition to it, to create the balance. The earth is always trying to keep a balance. Manifest creation is always trying to keep a balance. So whatever comes up negatively, there must be a positive to it. And then my teaching to you is about how to bring those two things together and bring them into balanced integration. So the last words that I want to speak to you is to have hope, to believe in yourselves. You are a spark of the divine, each of you, and that's a really precious thing, and that's also something that I have come to teach more about, so that you can feel that more in your everyday lives. So I'm Sarah. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak today, and I would like to do this again. It's the time now for these things to be said and for these words to be spoken, and there are more people now who are ready to listen to what I have to say. And it's outside of religion, it's outside of bloodlines, this is about here and now and what we can do to work with the earth and to work with all of the problems on the earth, with the pollution in the seas and you know what all the problems are. I don't need to list them, but you know, how do we work with these things? And that's what I'm here to do, to walk by your side as sister, as mentor and teacher. I'm not a guide, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I will help you and support you in finding those answers yourself. And I will give you tools, I will show you energies that you can use that will have a powerful effect on not just your lives, actually really on the world around you, actually really on the land where you live. There is so many things you can do, and I have come to teach you. Blessed be. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just going to get a bit more water. So I hope that was all right.
It was absolutely incredible. It really was. You did such an amazing job. Thank you so much. I'm really, really grateful to you. We were able to cover so many different topics to give an opener to people and to add information to things that we knew a little bit about. And I'm so glad that Sarah at the end said that she would be happy to have more interviews and discussions, because I thought this is just an introduction to get people going. And she was wonderful. She made the answers so accessible and explained them in a way that people, regardless of where they are on their spiritual path, they'll have something within the answers that they will resonate with and will be perfect for them at this point in time. Sarah was brilliant.
Great. Oh, that's great. And I think that maybe it felt like that was like, you know, a message for me, like she wants to do this more, so it's like get on with it, woman. So and I could feel like the things that we talked about, there was more layers to those things, and
Yes.
also I think we can go back to them. And but it's like, although I'm channeling, it's like the things that come through me, I can only sort of cope with one layer of it at a time. because like energetically it's also coming through me, so they have to give me things in pieces, otherwise I get overwhelmed. But like that whole grail thing, there's so much more to that, and like this energy, she's calling the cosmic Christ light. It's like, you know, it's a word, it carries things, there's better ways to describe it than that will be really, really useful, but it's like, you know, that needs to be sort of developed. And
but these are specialist areas that we can come back to, and then find out more information. What I wanted, my intention today was to give Sarah, through yourself, a platform to talk about some important areas from her perspective.
And also, as I always say, and you know, I've always experienced this myself when other people are channeling as well, it's not just about the words. You know, when someone opens up to channel, it's the energy. You're getting this energy from them, and you get your own like healing from it. You get your own understandings from it. Certain things will click in your brain, and you know, they've got nothing to do with what I'm saying. And it's, you know, it's that in itself is the most useful thing, to be honest.
That happened. Yeah, that happened to me, because when we were talking about Sarah's angels, I'm actually sitting in the horseshoe of Sarah's angels, and I could feel just the energy, it was like this big surge of energy, especially at the time that we were talking about them, and it was like, oh, I want to stay here for a long time, I'm really enjoying this.
And I really loved that explanation, because it was like she was saying, I loved it. It's the angels that have this power, and I use it, and I've done all this work and I've developed, but at the end of the day, it's them. I'm just a person. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I love that humanizing. I love that sort of that way of like being the divine and the human at the same time, and it also takes the pressure off the rest of us. It's not we don't have to be the cosmic Christ. We can just be a person who's calling on that energy, and that makes it a lot more manageable, I think.
She's got a great sense of humour as well, the way that Sarah's able to say, oh, you know, don't be worried, don't be, you know, feel intimidated by, you know, this kind of massive angels that are going to turn up when you want help. It's very funny the way that she'd explained how they all work.
Oh dear. But
how are you? You've been chatting for an hour.
Is it an hour?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm a bit like this. I think I'll have to go out for a walk. I've got some new contact lenses waiting for me down at Louis Nielsen, which is Denmark's version of Specsavers. Maybe I'll go and try those out. But you know, I feel really energized, actually. Thank you, Louise, because this was your
pleasure.
And left to myself, I wouldn't have done it. So thank you for
thank you, because look at all the extra information that we learned today through you, because you were the vehicle.
I'll have to listen back to it at some point, and then but I know as soon as I do, then I'll just be like thinking about all the next things that need doing. I won't do it just yet. I'm about to take a couple of weeks holidays with the kids, so I'll wait till I get back to work.
But it's there when you want to, when you feel up to it.
Yeah, but thank you, and thank you to Sarah for my big painting behind me.
Yeah, you can't really see I'll move out of the way. I'll just let you see where.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, I tell you, the vision I have of her, like I've had of her the last year. I'm really seeing her as sort of like a nature priestess.
I just want to try and show you. This is, I don't know, can you see the camera? Can you see the chalice?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's lovely.
What I felt. That's the energy I felt. So I have to go higher, do I? Can you see it now?
Oh, I can see it. It's lovely.
Yeah, that was the kind of, and that was the energy that I felt when I was setting up the space for the interview, and it wasn't too far off the mark, really, was it?
Is it? Because it's like a holy grail, is it?
Yeah, I'm just going to grab it for you.
That's beautiful.
I'll start from the top.
Yeah, because that's really like that energy she's talking about, you know, like with the angels and the holy grail, and it's something that she holds.
Yeah,
but
I'll send a photograph to you.
Isn't her as a person, and that's really lovely, Louise. I love that. Yeah,
You can see the tour at the top.
That's lovely. But this sort of, if we look at her as a person, I really see her as like this nature priestess, like running around in the forest and dressed in this beautiful, like bright green, like emerald, maybe a bit lighter, like green colour, and having like wood staffs made out of wood, and you know, much more back to basics. But anyway, I'm going to go now. I'm going to stop talking, and let's do this again.
Very much so. Yeah, it's, for me, it's an absolute pleasure. I try and think of questions that I asked that people might be interested in knowing. It wasn't just questions for myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, once this goes out there, we can ask people and say,
yeah, put together what do you want if we're going to, or the next interview, what would you like Sarah to talk about?
Yeah. Oh, I just want to mention, I have got some, if people look at my website, it's rachelgoodwin.dk, and there are, if you go down to the bottom of the Sarah page, there's some like online classes there. When you go onto the Sarah page, it comes up with a little pop-up, and if you sign up for that, you get like a channeling which like lays out really beautifully like Sarah's mission and what she's come here to do. And if you sign up for that, you'll also get details of some more ascension classes that I teach online, because really my work with Sarah that I'm doing is all about, you know, is teaching and transmitting these energies. So just wanted to get that little plug in there. So yeah, and I also have some crystals on Etsy that are attuned to Sarah as well. So yeah, go on the Facebook page. There's lots of stuff, lots of groups. Yeah, wonderful. All right then, Louise, have a good rest of your day. And everybody else watching, thank you.
Thank you all for watching.
All right, see you later. All right, bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.